Hey folks, it's Nate coming at you. So tonight I'm going to attempt to do sort of like my final draft of my Kenobi blade styles. And so I've tried to put this in chronological order as best I can. So this is going to start out with the blue variant colors for his blade, starting from episode 1, Phantom Menace, then episode 2, episode 3. Then there may be a couple of Clone Wars variants in there as well. I forget if those sound fonts were Clone Wars or animated or not. And then goes to the Kenobi live series, and then episode 4. So I think there's a handful. There's like at least 12 or 13 in here. And I'll make sure in the video description to put the full font list of the fonts that I'm using, as well as the pastebin URL to the style codes that I'm using. And so in each case, I've tried as best I can to color match the blade style for the particular episode or particular series.
Meet Obi-Wan Kenobi.
This is TPM Obi from KSith. This is sort of a darker blue. It's like a half step. Excuse me, not a half step, but it's a slightly off true blue. It's a 0, 30, 255. And this is an audio flicker.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
And this is another Phantom Menace. This is Obi-Wan from Kyberphonic. Same blade color configuration, but this is a different style. So this is a sort of a fast hump flicker.
Obi-Wan.
So now we're getting into episode 2, and this is OB2, the Kamino version from Kyberphonic. A little bit brighter blade. I've got about a 10 to 15% bright swing, I think, on this one. I think. No, I don't. This is, but this blade is a 3-layer audio flicker. So normally audio flickers just use the full step and then a half step, and then in this one I'm doing audio flicker with a full step, 2/3 step, and then a 1/3 step.
To sell me death sticks.
I don't want to sell you death sticks.
You want to go home and rethink your life?
I want to go home and rethink my life.
Master Kenobi, you disappoint me.
And this is OB2 Geonosis from Kyberphonic. Again, so it's same episode or same movie. It's Attack of the Clones. So this is using roughly the same blue, only this one is a little bit of a brighter ratio, and it's a single color. I'm going to check if I put a bright swing on this one. I think I might have. Usually on the static blades I do. No, I didn't put a bright swing on this one. Probably should.
General Kenobi.
And this is also another Attack of the Clones. This is TheBoldOne from KSith. Now this is a hump flicker, and I think this one is closer to a standardized sizing. Yeah, this is a standardized sizing hump flicker. It's the hump width on this one is 50, which is the default, I think. So you notice with the hump flicker, basically what it is like just these wave movements up and down the blade. And when you set the hump width, sometimes I'll say like I've set the hump width to a custom size, like a 3 or a 7 or something like that, which means it's a really short hump, so it's doing that. But the standard default, which is 50, is sort of much more of an elongated waving bumping effect. So when I did this particular one for the scene on Geonosis, it was sort of a toss-up between doing a hump flicker like this or doing like a pulse blade, because the fight scene with Dooku and Yoda and Obi-Wan and Anakin, you notice both Kenobi and Anakin's blade had sort of like a pulse to them. They sort of brightened and darkened just a little bit in that particular scene. And the clash effects had a little bit more dark orange and a little bit more like orange red in them. So a little darker.
May the force be with you.
Slave 1 2.0.
So this isn't really a cannon blade. I just really like the sound font, and it's sort of Kenobi related, so I decided to build a blade style for it. This is Slave 1, and this is, I think, by somebody named LordRekiad. Never heard of him before. But yeah, it's a neat sound font. So this is a blue pulse blade. Sort of using a bright lemon and off-whites and creams for the clash of the glass. That one's fun. It's a really cool sound font. I think the site or the store that it came from is something called Dendo's Moonforge, I think. Somebody in the video, in the comments, can correct me if I'm wrong about that. But it was a very obscure font to find. I forget who told me about it. And then that's my seismic charge preon that I put together.
Hello there.
And then continuing on with episode 2, this is The Negotiator by Fourzze. And this is another static single color blue. But this one does have a bright swing. It's very subtle. It's only about a 10 to 15% brightness increase on the swing. During the day, you probably wouldn't notice it, but at night, you definitely will.
Missed me.
And I think this one is based off of the Clone Wars. Like it's based off the sound font is based off the animated Obi-Wan Kenobi, if I'm hearing the voice right. put a little bit more red in the flash on clash on this one. And then set the TR delay on that very first layer of the clash to be really short. So even though it's actually a full blade red on the clash, you barely even see it.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
And then this one is Disciplined Knight, and I want to say, I forget who did this. It's either JuanSith or Syndicate, I forget. But it's great sound font.
You seem a little on edge.
I love the lockup sounds on this one. It's really nice.
I have a bad feeling about this.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes. I will do what I must.
Now we're moving on to episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, and this is Heroes Pack Obi-Wan from Kyberphonic.
My allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy!
Now here we have more of a medium blue with a bright swing. And I am using a subtle emitter flare on this one. It's very subtle, but it's sort of a responsive, so it'll increase or decrease with a twist. And so the blade styles for both Anakin and for Obi-Wan, episode 3, a little less red, a lot more of the dark gold and sort of dark yellows on the clash effects and the lockups.
I don't think so.
Obi-Wan.
And this is one of the newer ones, actually. The Kyberphonic put out. This is OB3. And this is a brown noise flicker blade that I'm using, and this is again, this is with my episode 3 version of Kenobi Blue, which is basically a full channel on the blue, 255, and then it's a fifth, a 20% channel in the green, so it's 0, 55, 255. And this also has a bright swing, which is about I want to say, I think it's like a 33% brightness increase, I want to say. No, it's It's a 50% brightness increase on the red and green channels to give it a little bit more white. So the more often I make sort of these styles, the more my mind is drawn to sort of repeatability and patterning, especially if I'm dealing with canon blade styles for canon characters. So for instance, a lot of what I do now, like with these canon blades, is if I set a brighter swing color, and I set that ratio at like maybe 33% or 40% brighter than the normal blade. If I use a spark tip on the ignition, I'll set it to the same color. Or if I use an ignition or a retraction effect where I want a brighter color, I'll set that to the same color as like the bright swing, for example. So, so one of the ways I've sort of begun not just building these styles as one-offs for each sound font, but especially when you have like 5 or 6 different sound fonts for a particular character in a particular Star Wars movie, I look to template the blade style and then just sort of do different main blades. But the Clash or the Blast will all likely be the same, but the main blade design might be different. Like I might do a hump flicker on one, an audio flicker on another, and a brown noise flicker on another. You know, something like that.
Ah, there you are.
Okay, now we're getting into the Kenobi series, and this is from JuanSith. This is ObiTraining, and there are 2 versions of this one. And this is just a slightly darker blue than the blue that I did up for episode 3. And predominantly because this blade style is shown during the day, even though it's in the same timeline when they're sort of having that flashback of that duel scene. It's sort of around that same time as Attack of the Clones, right before Revenge of the Sith. But because the fight takes place during broad daylight, the blade has to be a lot more visible against, you know, a bright backdrop. So I just darkened the blade by about 10%, something like that. But in this scene, the effects are much whiter and much more subtle. You know, you don't see the dark oranges and the dark reds on the clashes the way you did in the movies. It's much more whites and off-whites. So for example, here's the lockup. Like you can barely see the lockup. And it was the Kenobi series where I started putting together those custom clashes and blasts with the sparkling effect in them to try and mimic those sparks coming off the blade. Hadn't really played around with that before until I was doing blade styles for the Kenobi series. And then here's a second version of this same blade style.
Ah, there you are.
And this is the one where I'm using the sparkling effect on the clashes.
Until you overcome it, Padawan will still be here.
Okay.
Kenobi.
So now these next three blade styles are sort of the latter half of the Kenobi series, where he starts to fight Vader and he's fighting in against darker backdrops. So on these ones, the blade styles are going to be slightly different. It's a little bit darker blue. Still using that sparkling effect on the clashes. The lockups are going to be a little bit different. And there'll be some commentary underneath each of these style codes, where I'll say something like Kenobi Episode 5 live action blade style, or I'll say Kenobi Episode 4, or something like that. So where I'm actually referencing, because there's a shift between the earlier blade style in the series, especially in the flashback scene, versus the latter half of the scene, where episodes 5 and 6, where the blade style is very, very different.
Hello there.
And this is so that first font that I played was called JustBen, and that's from KSith. And this one is FallenMaster, and I believe this one is from JuanSith, I think.
I will do what I must.
So this is the style that's based off of the last final fight scene with Vader in the dark. So this one is, you're going to see that sparkle clashes a little bit darker, a little bit more oranges and reds in them. And a darker lockup. So for those of you who are really looking for a Kenobi series blade style, I would say the two of the ones that I've made, of the variants that I've made based off these two templates. The two most accurate are the one from the second ObiTraining preset that I've done, and from the FallenMaster sound font. Of the 5 or 6 that I've done, I think those are the two most accurate in terms of screen accuracy.
Goodbye, Darth. It's just Ben these days.
And then this is from the sound font, TheRematchBen from Kyberphonic. And this is a double layer brown noise flicker blade. So the blade style itself is definitely less canning. I mainly wanted to put another style variant on there that was fun to build.
Master Kenobi?
I am, and when you have your strength, I will help you on your way.
And this is another animated version. This is from Kyberphonic's OB4, the Rebels version. And here we have a very pale blue, almost an Arctic blue. And this is a random per LED flicker blade. And so if you're wondering where I got the screen reference for this blade color, excuse me, it was from the Star Wars Rebels episode Twin Suns, where he fights Maul. That's where I get this blue from.
The truth is often what we make of it. You heard what you wanted to hear, believed what you wanted to believe. Now the only one who has gained anything from all of this is...
Ben Kenobi?
Okay, now we're heading into OT. So this is OldBen from KSith, and this is a New Hope blade style. Now we're into the really pale blue. And because this particular sound font, OldBen, was more of a generic episode 4 Kenobi font, it wasn't specified. I put in a mirror flare on this one, just because I wanted at least one of these original trilogy ones to have an emitter flare.
Hello
Ben Kenobi?
And this is OB4 version 2, the Cantina from Kyberphonic.
I haven't gone by the name of Obiwan since all before you were born. Obi-Wan Kenobi.
And this is OB4V2, the Death Star version from Kyberphonic.
The Force will be with you. Always.
Now this is a little bit different blue than the versions of his saber on Tatooine. In the Death Star, it's just a tad bit darker, and this has also got an emitter wick effect to help give it sort of like that floating effect, like on screen. And it's got a bright swing. And the clashes and lockups on this one incorporate a lot more yellows and greens. This was an interesting one when I was looking for color matching against the movie, because I had to keep rewatching like at a really slow frame rate against Vader. Because their clashes and lockups actually had a lot more green and yellow in them than I thought. Originally I thought it was like just a dark orange like the prequels, but it's actually, you can distinctly see a lot of yellows and a lot of greens coming off the flashes and mock-ups. So you'll see that represented in this particular version of his blade style. This is OB4V2 Death Star. The colors on these ones are a lot more distinct.
Who's the more foolish, the fool or the fool who follows him?
And I'll just say for the record, all of these V2 upgrades that Kyberphonic has been doing, especially with the Obi sound fonts, the OB4V2, the Cantina Death Star, and Rebels versions, they're fantastic. Just listen to this clash. So good. That blast, that secondary deep drop that it does. So good.
Battery power level.
So that's my Kenobi series of blade styles that I've put together after quite a few hours of color matching. One of the things I will say is a caveat: if you are a Proffie saber user and you enjoy building your own blade styles the way I do, one of the things that's really challenging, as you probably run into, is when you take the color match off the screen, from different frame samples, and then you filter them in through the style editor, and then you transpose them from the style editor onto the blade. it can be quite a muddying process sometimes, where the way the color shows up in the style editor is not always the way it shows up on the blade. So in particular, with sort of distinguishing between a lot of these blues, like a medium blue versus a light blue versus a Arctic blue, versus like an ice blue, that sort of thing, took a lot of time to go back, and there's a lot of re-editing to be done to try and get these blues just right. So hopefully you all enjoyed the demo. I certainly enjoyed doing it. I love this stuff, and Obi-Wan Kenobi is by far my favorite Star Wars character, like, of all time. Almost. Ahsoka is a close second. But anyway, thanks for watching, and next one up I'll be doing is going to be some styles for Mace Windu. So we'll be getting back to some purples real soon. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching. Take care. May the Force be with you.